I've been in the closet reading Sonic Frontiers leaks for a week. I mean, it wasn't that long, right? It should only be January 15th. Let me check. Guys, welcome back to Cyberspace Investigations. I've been stuck in the closet for so long, I didn't even realize Sonic Frontiers gameplay even came out. I only came out of the closet to get food and water, but now that gameplay's out, I want to react to it. So, will it live up to the hype? Let's see. Oh, well that sure was something. Now let's see how the people are reacting. I think you could call me a Sonic fan. I mean, I don't exactly have the proof anymore, but I once laid out all the Sonic merchandise I had and... well, I'd rather not talk about how much room it took up. I've played every mainline game, almost every spin-off, watched every cartoon, the movies, and have an extensive drawer of ancient 2011 action figures from the Sonic Generations lines. I love every era of the games. I play Sonic Mania nearly daily, love Sonic Unleashed to death, and enjoy both adventure games. I even find something in Lost World. Just not the story, or most other things about it. Suffice it to say, I think if anyone can judge the future of the Hedgehog's games, it's probably me. I have no real bias because I love all of it. Anyways, let's talk about Sonic Frontiers. Sega decided to go on with one of the IGN month-long showcases to give us our first look at actual gameplay, splicing things up into smaller 7-minute videos that are released throughout the month. So far, 2 have been released focusing on exploration and combat specifically. We'll start from the exploration video as it came first, then move on to the combat one later. Honestly, can I say the game left a good first impression? Well, kind of. It's very hard to tell with this video. Sonic clearly has a slower movement speed than before, but it also looks like the player is purposefully slowing Sonic down at certain points during the video. Momentum seems to be very off, slowing him down way more than it should on slopes. This isn't the player, as it happens in both videos when going up the slopes. When traveling up the tower, Sonic moves alright, and though it's still very slow. I wonder if this is really his top speed or whether you can get upgrades in the game to increase, similar to how Unleashed had its XP and leveling system. I guess it's a possibility, but it's not clear. That's actually a major problem with these demos so far. There's no context for what's happening. We're just watching things happen with no context as to why or what's going on. IGN promised developer interviews, so we'll have to see when those come out. Moving on, we get a better look at the open world that Sonic Team's crafted. It's open, that's for sure. Look, I'm not a genius game designer, but when you have blueprints for large open worlds like Ghost of Tsushima, Breath of the Wild, this place just feels barren. There isn't all that much to look at, and the environment isn't exactly what I'd call Sonic-like. It seems like a sort of test area almost. Throughout the fields, there's ruins, bridges, puzzles, and certain parkour sections that seem to be taking inspiration from Lost World in terms of design. In concept, I don't mind it, but in practice, it just looks a little stiff and janky. Anyway, the one puzzle shown off is a very simple one you'd find in quite a few open world games. You step on the squares without stepping off them to complete it. It's obviously a basic starter one, as the entire area screams starter area, but what really doesn't make sense is the reward. We see a spiked fruit thing pop up. What does this mean? A major problem is the lack of enemies and just the out-of-place nature of Sonic on these islands. They're way too realistic to be Sonic environments, and he just doesn't look like he should be there. Even in 06, where a similar thing happened, there were fantastical environments and elements like the water tunnels in Kingdom Valley or the entirety of the future in both Crisis City and Flame Core to balance it out. The Starfall Islands, as far as we've been shown so far, and obviously we've only seen one area, doesn't seem to have very much of that. There's an obvious disconnect between Sonic's presence and the world he inhabits here. Plenty of things are left without context, and without something like Sonic Force's simple premise to help contextualize things, this is a bit hard to understand. Simply put, we have no idea what's going on, and that's absolutely affecting my enjoyment of what we're getting. Oh, and that damn bird! The first video, in the end, left me wanting, but not really in a good way. We had gotten a very nothing video with some walking around and a couple puzzles. The reception was overwhelmingly negative, surprisingly, despite the fact that overall the game looked solid enough. We'll get more into that later. For now, let's get on to the second video, which focused on combat. Here, we see Sonic fighting a few different types of enemies and showing off a wide breadth of attacks. I think overall this video sold me on the game a little more, making the combat at least seem pretty fun and engaging. There was a good rhythm, except for that one attack where Sonic sort of teleports back and then zooms forward. I think that would need some work. The types of enemies are strangely bland for Sonic though, after Forces had beige-colored Eggpons and Buzz Bombers making up its entire enemy lineup. This isn't too surprising. This is the same Sonic team after all. The enemies are close to Robotnik's movie drones for some reason. They're all white with red and very clean. I can't help but wonder if there was originally supposed to be some kind of connection that got dropped, but the devs kept the design. Either way, I don't find them all too engaging in terms of looks. Throughout the classic series and even the adventure games, I could tell you which enemies went with which stages at the drop of a hat. That's how memorable they were. Here, I feel these new types of enemies could litter the entire map. That is a bit concerning. Not only that, but both videos show that enemies aren't exactly common. They're spread out, leaving large spaces without anything in them. Sure, Sonic can probably traverse them quickly, but it still leaves me wanting. Anyway, we have yet to talk about the spin cycle, that cyberspace-like drawing mechanic that Sonic uses on occasion. It was shown off in the first teaser, then reliable leakers mentioned it, and now here it is in all its very slow glory. For a new mechanic like this, I would have expected something that went a bit faster. Instead, we see something that goes quite slow and stops Sonic in his tracks. Not that he seems to be going too fast to begin with. It can be used on enemies, opening weak spots like on the snail machine in the second teaser, or used to solve puzzle-type mechanics like in the first teaser. That's neat, I guess. It's underwhelming to say the least, as it was one of the first things shown off for the entire game, and it just ends up being this slow plotting pace breaker. It definitely needs some work. Honestly, if you're going to create a new mechanic for Sonic, you should do it like the drop dash from Sonic Mania. That move now is so integral to classic Sonic's moveset that they are re-adding it to Sonic 1, 2, and 3 just to make it be in line. That's how good the drop dash was, and it wasn't even made by Sonic Team. That was really all the second showcase gave us, and it certainly caused a ruckus in the community. You know how the Sonic fanbase is usually split three ways, basically between classic fans, Adventure 2000s fans, and Boost fans? Well, that's been shattered with the 20-point magnitude earthquake known as Sega's incompetence. Every side seems to be mostly united in hating the game, at least from what I can gather on the Twitter hashtags. Instead of simply creating another part of the fanbase that likes this new style, it's also gone and made so many thousands of others despise it as well. Is that warranted? Well, no. There are plenty of factors these guys haven't factored in. One, these videos were made by Sega, and Sega is a very careless and messy company. They most likely asked some developer to record some gameplay and showcase these certain things, and that's exactly what they did. Both of these showcases play like someone methodically showing off animation, certain mechanics, and basic systems. Usually, you would want this handled by somebody with a little bit of marketing know-how and understanding of how to appeal to everyone. The person recording this didn't, and we ended up with a subpar showcase. Channel Pup on Twitter created a trailer that was leaps and bounds better than what we've seen from Sega so far, and it looked great. It really sold me in the game on the areas I hadn't been sold in just by showing it in a slightly more appealing light. Second, we've, in reality, only seen two parts of the exact same gameplay session. They happen in the same area, same time of day, and it appears to be the same build of the game. That's right, there also seems to be two builds of the game somehow. The one which the gameplay is featured in has the Forces model for Sonic, while certain panning shots have a Sonic that looks far closer to the Unleashed Colors Gens model. There are some people saying this might be squash and stretch at the edge of the screen, but I don't completely buy that. Why this is happening, I have no idea. It's undeniable that there is a difference between the two pictures, What this means in terms of when the main build is from is actually very little. They probably just swapped in the finished model, replacing the Forces one after the main gameplay had been recorded. In actuality, these 13 minutes of gameplay have been very uninformative on what the game actually is. Third, and I know this is a redundant one, COVID. Yes, while the virus may be on the decline in terms of social impact here in the States, Japan is absolutely not in the same situation, not by a long shot. That, and they didn't handle the work from home scenario too well, and Frontier's development cycle ran headfirst into the pandemic. This probably has had a bigger impact on development than we think. Sega's been having a tough time of it anyway, what with all their arcades being shut down and everything. Fourth, the leaks. Leaks probably shouldn't be trusted most of the time, but when a leak from February actually details pretty much everything we've seen so far, I can't just exactly ignore it. The leak actually does seem a bit more promising, claiming there's plenty of things we've yet to see. First off, it describes the combat as about what Sega has shown. That's not a problem, but it raises the question, if the combat hasn't changed in nearly 5 months, what have they been doing? Secondly, it describes a new Sonic model. We've seen that too, based on the small clips we've gleaned out. There's a shop to buy upgrades, including the spin cycle. Sonic gathers momentum, which we do see in the gameplay. It never said it had to be good. The biggest thing here that I would say matters the most is the mention of cyberspace levels.
They ripped me off!
The leaker claims that these are more traditional levels in which you can get the Chaos Emeralds. Why is this promising exactly? Well, having normal levels as well means that if those are shown off, we can get a better idea of how Sonic would control in a traditional environment, and better understand what we're seeing in the open world in relation to a traditional sort of Generations or Unleashed style stage. Also, that would please a lot of people who aren't too hot on the open world. Mentioning shops means that there could be real NPCs, something we definitely haven't seen. The only problem with this is that the leaker mentions the stages he played were based on Green Hill and Chemical Plant. I get that those are the most iconic levels, but they've been in every single Sonic game since Generations without fail. Whatever, it's not like Sega will ever stop reusing them. I think in general the leak gives me a little more hope. It seems as though the game hasn't changed all that much in terms of gameplay in the last few months, and the question then becomes whether people will actually like it or not. The answer currently seems to be no, though nobody has actually touched the game, so it's pretty confusing on how they know they don't like it. Right now, plenty of people online, including Moist Critical of all people, are ragging on the game really hard, and whether or not Sega will delay the game in response to negative feedback remains to be seen. I think most of it is really overblown, and most of the people saying things just seem to be blowing the whole situation way out of proportion. Am I going to claim the game will be great? No. Am I going to say it will be good? I don't really know enough to even say that yet. Nobody does. We'll find out more and make a judgment then. For whatever reason, the Sonic community really likes to draw these early conclusions. A trailer could come out next week that changes everything, or make it infinitely worse. We have absolutely no idea what will happen, but so many are already giving up because of Sega's idiotic marketing strategy that's already lost them customers. I swear, the most common thing Sega does is shoot themselves in the foot.
Well, after all of that, I'm gonna go put myself on the guillotine for saying positive things about Sonic Frontiers. See you on the other side, everyone.